Cape Town forever. Cape Town forever.
In this episode, we are joined by Michael Gladwin, founder of 𝗟𝗚𝗕, dedicated to creating welcoming experiences for LGBTQ+ travelers. Michael is instrumental in bringing World Pride 2028 to Cape Town, marking a historic first for Africa. Let's chat to Michael about his role in Cape Town's hospitality industry. We're back on Cape Town Forever and speaking to Michael Gladwin from 𝗓𝗍𝗄. He represents the LGBTQ community in Cape Town, and we want to find out more about what he does here. Michael, tell us what got you into the tourism industry, specifically with regards to LGBTQ. What inspired you to get into this role?
Well, first of all, the big gap. I mean, there's a massive gap to fill. People don't understand the LGBT community, and they don't understand the need to do things slightly differently to be able to please, I suppose, the LGBT community, and also, more importantly, to become a truly inclusive organization. It's not just about one segment of society anymore. We need to get with the times a bit and think big.
No, that's true. And your role, what would you say? What would you call yourself if you introduce yourself to people? How would you?
It's always quite challenging because I wear a couple of hats in the LGBT tourism space. So on the one side, we have an inbound tour operator and DMC called Africa Travel, where we say we sell exclusively to the LGBT community, but that's not entirely true. We sell to their allies as well. And we create lovely experiences that are slanted towards the LGBT community. Not necessarily like all gay with big feathers and so on. We do have products that are like that. But mostly it's more about taking the incredible stuff that we already have in this country and working with the actual people who run those products and those properties and helping them become more inclusive so that the experience becomes better for everyone.
What pulled you toward this, other than your
I
passion?
randomly, I don't know, I think 7 or 8 years ago, came across an advert on Facebook for a scholarship for the IGLTA, which is International LGBT Tourism Association. They're based in the States, a scholarship to attend their conference in the States. It was in Cape Town the year before, and I completed the form and the application, and I won, and the bug bit.
Any good experiences you've had since then? I mean, what made you stay in the game and want to build on?
Quite soon into the game, as we started 𝗓𝗍𝗄 Travel, I saw the need for education. There's a serious lack in the world, actually, not just in South Africa, for educating people on the LGBT community. People don't get it, and I mean, you yourself even almost stumbled over the acronym because it is confusing. It's a very diverse community, and we need to understand it. So. The focus has been quite strongly on helping people get it better, understand it better, and get it right. Yeah.
So that seems like a challenge. But are there any other serious challenges you have actually had to face?
That's a huge challenge. Even here in Cape Town, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to train people around the world, thank goodness. But even here in Cape Town, and with our really progressive constitution in South Africa. It's still a bit of a challenge. I mean, people don't get it. The homophobia is still quite rough. Not necessarily dangerously so, but there are massive misperceptions and myths about the community that people need to learn along and change and shift their own mindsets.
And this is mostly based on the cultures we have. I mean, we've got a huge variety of cultures here.
Absolutely, cultures, religions. It stems quite deep into cultural norms. So it's about allowing people to shift their thinking and helping them see why they should shift their thinking.
How have you been doing this? How have you gone about this as in your own initiatives? Any initiatives you've done that change the whole direction of how we're going and making people more inclusive, making things more inclusive and all that? I mean,
the training is the one element that we are focusing on. Currently, it's specific for the tourism industry. We are shifting that though. We're going to move it into the corporate space and quite soon into the school space as well. So hopefully we're going to get into high schools and start educating there. But from a tourism perspective, I'm working very closely with Cape Town Tourism to the joke we make is that to make Cape Town gay again. And we even made a hat like our friend and our non-friend in the States to kind of rip him off with. Yeah, the idea here is to work with Cape Town Tourism's partners and members to get them on board with us and to get them to see the value in why they need to make the changes within their organisation, so that they can market properly to the community without rainbow washing it, without like sticking a gay flag on and say, "Yay, look at us, we love the gays." But it's way beyond that. In fact, that's quite offensive when people do that. So we help people to not do that and do it differently, so that it works, so that they engage correctly with the community and actually have a really good impact.
And if tourist companies or individuals want to get involved with you, how would they go about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're always looking for new ideas and new ways of doing things and new people. I had a bit of a challenge a couple of months ago on a trip to the States to quite an activist-y conference, where I was challenged because I was representing Cape Town Pride, and I was white and I'm male, which, I mean, in my world doesn't matter because we're an inclusive organisation and we're inclusive of everyone. But to bring some kind of diversity into our organisation is really, really important. As I said earlier, the LGBT community is very diverse, and it's intersectional as well. So a person is not necessarily just a lesbian. She can be a black lesbian. She can be a black lesbian mother. There's many kind of different ways to look at it and weave it into different ways of thinking. Yeah.
And then you're going to try your best to get to as many businesses as possible. But if, let's say that you could give them a head start right now and tell them or advise them of how they can be more accessible, what would you say to them? And what would you tell them to try and not to try?
First, learn what it means and then throw it away. The rainbow flag is representative of the LGBT community. It's not representative of a business to pretend that they are supportive of the LGBT community. Do something about it. Speak to your staff, understand where they're at, understand what your non-LGBT staff feel, how they feel about it. Find out how your LGBT staff are being treated. Look at your HR policies. Is everyone actually truly equal on paper?
Yeah.
And make those changes.
Basically, have a conversation.
Have a conversation. Talk. The elephant in the room is our biggest problem here. And it's not. The definition of the elephant in the room is that it's a controversial subject that people don't want to talk about. In this case, the controversial issue is not that people have different sexual identities or orientations or gender identities. It's that we don't talk about it, and we need to. Yeah. Especially in the workplace. Yeah.
Okay. Aside from your initiative that you're doing with Cape Town Tourism, are there any other initiatives that you are seeing that you are liking and you can?
So there is one that I'm actually spearheading. We are working with Cape Town Pride. I'm representing them in this process to bid to bring the World Pride event to Cape Town in 2028.
What advice would you give for other tourism professionals that are looking to become more inclusive themselves, like a tour guide or someone who is running the botanical gardens? How would you, other than having the conversation that we spoke about, how the approach that they would take for instance, in luring people in of all cultures, including the LGBTQ?
Yeah.
So
I think a very big challenge there is, first of all, I'd love to answer that with don't be a 𝗬𝗪.
Yeah.
But I think in the tourism space we generally are, because we kind of get why we need to be, and we, for the most part, are accepting of everyone because we get that we need to be, especially tourist guides and so on. But I think what's really important is to acknowledge that there is more to learn and understand. There is a nuance. Although an LGBT person is still a person at the end of the day, there are certain things that if you don't know may come across as offensive, may cause a bit of challenge. So education is important. I always drive the education conversation wherever I go. Whenever I have conversations with anybody, educate yourself. Get the training. Go through. If it's not our training, find other training. There's ways to do it. Understand inclusive language. How to use inclusive language properly. Know when to use he and she, and when to not use he and she. Know, like if you're addressing an audience, for example, try and avoid saying good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, because you're being exclusive by doing that. So say good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. There's many ways around it, but if you don't know, then you don't know, and it's easy to learn, and it's easy to make a very big difference through a simple approach.
If someone had to right now go look you up on the internet, Google what would they have to type in?
Afrigate Travel is probably the best starting point, and
You're on Instagram? Or
I'm on
Facebook?
Instagram, Afrigate Travel, as well as allstay, which is our training company. We are quite present all over the place, globally. We're building a nice name for ourselves, which is really lovely.
Awesome. And so let's say a company wants to take you up on your advice and invite you over to, let's say, try and change the culture there. Do you usually go as one person or as a team, or?
So my workshops are very intimate. I like to work with between 15 and 20 people maximum. Less is even better, because over the 3 to 4 hour process, I ask really hard-hitting questions. I reveal that elephant in the room, and I'm not afraid to ask the questions, and I elicit the right information out of people so that people can be honest. And they need to know that when they are in this space, they can share openly and honestly, without prejudice, without question. What happens in the room stays in the room, so that I can get a better understanding of what it is that where their challenges are, and help them through it. So yes, on my own is easier. It's less intimidating. If I come with a whole caravan of people, it's going to scare people off, and I don't want that corporate vibe. It's not about that. It's about having fun. Yeah. I mean, the LGBT community is a whole bunch of fun. We need to embrace that, if nothing else. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah. Over the last 20 years, do you feel like we've evolved in the right direction or progressed?
Weirdly, yes. Even though the perception is that Cape Town has lost its gay flair. We've lost most of our gay bars or lesbian bars and so on because of COVID and whatever the reasons are. But what has happened in the process is Cape Town's become a lot more integrated, especially in the tourism space. So restaurants and bars and clubs and that kind of vibe.
Yes.
Where the locals, the non-LGBT people, are a lot more welcoming, and there's very little judgment. But that doesn't take the problem away. The problem lies deeper than that.
Yeah.
Because the people who frequent those places more than likely have a different socioeconomic background, a different cultural background. So it does shift the thinking there. Okay, so I think what's important to know about Cape Town specifically is a lot of people think it's gone backwards in the gay world. I mean, Cape Town was always known as the gay capital.
Yeah,
of Africa.
I mean, when I'm as a tour guide, when I talk to my guests about, I'm proud to say that this is one of the gay capitals in the world. So
Absolutely.
San Francisco and Sydney, I think.
Sydney, New York City, London, in fact, Barcelona. There's many of them.
Yeah.
And yet it is on one level, and on
the surface level.
Yeah, on another level has gone backwards because we've lost the big gay village and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean it's not coming back again. You know, there's always room for change. Yeah. And with the integration of society, that's what's really important, and that's why education is important, because we need to make sure everyone is on the same page here. Yeah. It's not just about the people who actually go to the bars and have a good time, who are
exposed to. Yeah.
It's about those who are exposed to it on a different level, like a housekeeper, for example. Yeah. I mean, if you're a young, impressionable Muslim lady, for example, who to 21 years old, whatever, and you work as a housekeeper in a hotel, and you walk into a room and you see one bed and 2 pairs of men's shoes. Yes. You know, how do you feel about that? We need to help that lady. We need to help her be okay with it and understand it better, so that her experience becomes different. Because when that happens, then the snowball effect happens of that integrated space and that proper inclusivity.
So, Michael, what emerging trends are you seeing in the tourism sector with regards to LGBTQ? What values do you see going up? And also numbers. Tell us about how our tourism is going up or down.
Cool. I'm glad you actually asked that, because the numbers are really important to get the big picture of why this is important. And this is a part of the reason why I'm so focused on it, because there is such value in it. So, kind of mid-COVID-y, I'm still waiting for new stats. The research that was done is that there's an average of about $100 billion a year being spent on travel from the LGBT community out of the USA alone. So I mean, it's pretty huge. Yeah. Currently, we make up between 7 and 10% of the travel market, which in itself is quite big. The conversation I heard, I don't know how much truth is in this, but I did hear a conversation from a clever guy in the industry that by 2030 the LGBT traveller will take up about 30% of the market, which is amazing because I mean such a hugely growing community. There's a letter that gets added on regularly, so it grows all the time. It's not just about a gay person or a lesbian person. It's about the queer culture and understanding the queer culture and the diversity within the queer culture, from a conforming person to a non-binary person, to a trans person, and so on. So from a trend perspective, it's important to understand each segment of the community so that from a tourism perspective, you can make sure you're targeting the right person with the right kind of products.
Yes.
And understanding what their needs are.
Yes.
So I mean, the transgender conversation is a very big one to have, and we don't have enough time for that. But that's a really important conversation to have in the tourism industry, because we need to make sure that their needs are met. But in order to meet their needs, we need to understand what their needs are and understand who they are as people.
Yeah.
Families, LGBT families, is a massive, massive trend. More and more, especially around the world, because same-sex couples are now allowed to adopt, or can have their own children through surrogacy, or however that process is done. Yeah. It's a huge market, and hopefully it's going to take off in South Africa quite soon. I haven't seen much of it yet, but I think it's coming. Same-sex weddings and destination weddings is massive as well, because especially in the Western Cape area,
especially our winelands.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many venues that are completely accepting and welcoming. There are one or two that are not.
Yeah, we've heard of them in the past, but I'm sure they've moved on. Michael, thanks so much for joining Cape Town Forever. It's been great speaking to you and learning from you. Good luck to you in your endeavors and your projects, and see you around Cape Town.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Cape Town forever. Cape Town forever.